It started with a flicker on the screen. Not a glitch, not a random blur, but something that felt deliberate. But though the camera itself hesitated before showing what it was meant to show. In a small security office on the edge of town, Oliver Crane sat hunched over his desk, sipping cheap coffee, his eyes half focused on the row of monitors in front of him. It was just another graveyard shift, the kind that stretched endlessly into the night. But then, in the corner of camera 6, he noticed a figure. At first, Oliver thought it was nothing. The parking lot was empty, the flickering street lamp above casting faint light on the cracked pavement. But the figure was there, standing perfectly still in the farthest corner, unmoving, just outside the reach of the light. It looked like a man. He was tall, his head slightly bowed, as if he was staring directly at the camera. Oliver leaned closer, narrowing his eyes. There hadn't been anyone in that lot all night. He switched to camera 7, which gave a side view of the same area. The corner was empty. His heart skipped. Back to camera 6. And the man was there again, motionless, a dark silhouette against the wall. Oliver's fingers hovered over the keyboard, confusion creeping into his chest. He rubbed his eyes, muttering under his breath. Maybe he was too tired. Maybe his brain was playing tricks. But no matter how many times he blinked, the man remained. Oliver hit the intercom and called for Peter, the only other guard on duty that night. Peter shuffled in, irritated, wiping crumbs from his shirt. "What is it now?" Oliver pointed to the screen without saying a word. Peter squinted, leaned closer, and frowned. "There's nothing there," he said flatly. Oliver insisted, urging him to look harder, his voice shaking with urgency. But Peter only shook his head, annoyed. "You need sleep. You're seeing things again." He left the room, mumbling. Alone again, Oliver turned back to the monitors. The man hadn't moved. Same corner, same posture, but something about him was different. His head was tilted at a sharper angle, as though he was smiling. A thin, chilling smile directed right at the lens. Oliver felt his stomach drop. His breath caught in his throat. He reached for the radio, his hands trembling. But before he could speak, the lights in the security office flickered once, twice, and then steadied. On camera 6, the man was gone. Oliver leaned back, exhaling shakily, his body drenched in sweat. He scanned every monitor, every angle of the lot. Nothing, just shadows and silence. He almost laughed at himself, the kind of nervous laugh that comes when you're not sure if you're sane. He told himself it was stress, an optical illusion, maybe even a reflection. He told himself a lot of things. And then the radio crackled. It wasn't Peter. It wasn't anyone he knew. A deep, distorted voice whispered through the static. "I see you." Oliver froze, staring at the radio as if it had grown teeth. He swallowed hard, his mouth dry. His shaking hand reached for the switch. But before he could turn it off, the voice spoke again, clearer this time. "Look behind you." Oliver spun around so fast his chair toppled. The room was empty. His heart pounded against his ribs, every muscle in his body tight with terror. He forced himself to turn back to the monitors. His blood ran cold. On camera 6, the man was standing inside the security office. Same posture, same tilt of the head, same horrifying stillness. Oliver's breath hitched as he stared at the screen. He whipped his head around, but the room was empty. He looked back at the monitor, and the man was still there, in the corner of the very room he sat in. Oliver's pulse hammered in his ears, his vision narrowing. He stumbled backward, his eyes locked on the screen, unable to look away. The man didn't move. He didn't need to. His presence was enough, a suffocating weight pressing into Oliver's chest. The door creaked open, and Oliver nearly screamed. It was Peter again, holding a half-empty soda, looking annoyed. "You seriously need a break, man." Oliver's voice cracked as he pointed to the monitor, demanding Peter to look. Peter sighed and leaned closer. The corner was empty. "Jesus, Oliver, you're losing it." He slammed the soda can on the desk and stormed out, leaving Oliver trembling, staring at the screen, knowing what he had seen. For hours, nothing happened. The monitors showed nothing but silence, empty corridors, and deserted parking lots. The figure didn't return, but Oliver couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every flicker of light, every shadow that shifted made his skin crawl. He tried to distract himself, buried in paperwork. But his eyes kept darting back to camera 6. The corner seemed darker now, as though it was waiting. At exactly 3:33 a.m., the monitors all went black. Every single screen. The hum of electricity in the office stopped, leaving only silence. Then, one by one, the cameras flickered back to life. But instead of showing the building, they all showed Oliver, sitting at his desk, from different angles. Every screen. Dozens of versions of himself, staring back. And in the corner of each feed, the man stood. Closer now. Oliver's chest tightened, his breath shallow, sweat dripping down his back. He clutched the radio, screaming for Peter, for anyone. But static was the only reply. He turned to run. But the door to the office slammed shut, rattling the walls. He threw himself at it, twisting the handle, pounding his fists. But it wouldn't budge. Behind him, the sound of static grew louder, filling the room, pressing into his skull. He turned back to the monitors. The man was gone. Oliver stumbled backward, his eyes darting across the screens, desperate to find him. Then he saw it. On camera 6, the lens zoomed in on its own, closing in on Oliver's terrified face. And in the corner, behind him, the man stood inches away, his features still obscured. But his smile wider, sharper, impossible. The radio hissed one last time. "I'm already here." The lights went out, and no one saw Oliver Crane again.